In the past decade, cryptocurrency has transformed from a niche technological curiosity into a cornerstone of the global financial system. Promising decentralization, security, and financial freedom, it has revolutionized the way we think about money. Yet, unlike cash, which you can see and hold in your hands, cryptocurrency exists only in the digital realm, making it inherently more risky. Its value depends on trust in projects that can vanish overnight, leaving investors empty-handed. As with traditional banks, the allure of untold wealth and anonymity has made cryptocurrency a prime target for criminals. Among the many frauds that have shaken this new financial frontier, the story of Ruja Ignatova stands out as one of the most captivating and mysterious to this day. With her OneCoin scheme, she masterminded a global deception that promised riches but left millions in ruin, exposing the dark side of this digital revolution. Her disappearance in 2017 turned her into a modern legend of financial crime. Today, she is one of the FBI's most wanted fugitives, and her case remains shrouded in mystery, with more questions than answers about her fate and the true extent of her crime. Rumors have circulated that she may have been involved in organized crime, adding another layer of intrigue to her already complex story. Investors from all over the world were willing to pay millions to attend the exclusive events she organized, drawn by the promise of a financial revolution. With her magnetic charisma and impeccable marketing strategy, Ignatova seduced millions, convincing them that OneCoin was the cryptocurrency of the future. But who is this woman really? How did she manage to become one of the most important figures in the cryptocurrency market in such a short time? Ruja Ignatova was born on June 30, 1980 in Ruja, Bulgaria, a city located along the Danube River. She came from a family of ethnic Bulgarians with Romani, Gypsy heritage, and grew up in a middle-class family. Her father, Konstantin Ignatov, was a well-known businessman in Bulgaria, and her mother, whose name is not widely known, was a school teacher. When she was around 10 years old, her family moved to Germany. Her father, who was a successful businessman in Bulgaria, sought better opportunities in Germany, where the family settled. It is known that she grew up in Germany, where she later pursued a higher education in law and economics. She attended the University of Constance, where she obtained a degree in economics, and later went on to study law at the University of Frankfurt. At a young age, Ruja was known for her exceptional intelligence, and she excelled in her studies. Her academic prowess led her to pursue higher education abroad. However, the details of her academic credentials became more complicated as time passed. Stories circulated that she had earned a PhD in law, with some even claiming that she completed her doctorate at Oxford University. The latter claim, however, has never been verified, and there are no solid records to confirm her attendance or graduation from Oxford. It seemed that Ruja had a knack for cultivating a sense of prestige around herself, sometimes blurring the lines between fact and fiction, creating a persona that was as elusive and enigmatic as her rise to fame. After completing her education, she began working in finance and law, but quickly became frustrated with the traditional structures and limitations of the established financial world. This dissatisfaction with conventional finance is believed to have been a driving force behind her later ventures into the world of cryptocurrency. In the early 2010s, Ruja Ignatova returned to Bulgaria, where she began to shape the vision that would become OneCoin. With a remarkable talent for self-promotion and an undeniable charisma, she quickly rose to prominence in the world of cryptocurrency, drawing in a diverse range of international investors. Her ability to sell not just an idea, but a dream, made her a central figure in a rapidly growing industry. When she took the stage, the energy was palpable. Audiences captivated by her presence eagerly reached for their phones to snap pictures, unable to resist the allure of the doctor. Ruja's charisma was magnetic. She had a rare gift for drawing people in. Her speeches, filled with promises of a groundbreaking financial future, resonated deeply with her listeners. Speaking with the assuredness of someone who truly believed in her own vision, she made her audience believe as well. Her confidence wasn't just persuasive, it was infectious, spreading through the crowd like wildfire and transforming skepticism into unwavering faith. Her persuasive nature and charismatic persona led her to attract more than 3 million investors from around the world. People were eager to be part of the next big thing in cryptocurrency, and they trusted Ruja with their money, believing she was offering them a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Her ability to create a sense of exclusivity and belonging among her followers made them feel privileged to be part of the OneCoin movement. Investors remember her presentation at Wimbledon as something truly incredible. The luxury cars were parked everywhere, and expensive watches glittered on the wrists of the attendees. Everything seemed to exude wealth and success. It felt like a dream come true for those who attended, as if they were part of something exclusive and extraordinary. Ruja Ignatova's carefully crafted image of opulence and success was a masterstroke, creating an atmosphere of prestige and legitimacy around her OneCoin project. In 2016, Harry Guilford, Ruja Ignatova's personal secretary, recalls the first time he met her. He remembers a woman full of ambition, with eyes set firmly on one goal: to become incredibly wealthy. There was an intensity about her, a drive that was palpable. She spoke passionately about the potential of cryptocurrency, her words laced with the kind of confidence that made you believe she could achieve anything. It wasn't just the idea of financial success that captivated him, it was her conviction, the certainty in her voice that made the seemingly impossible appear within reach. Guilford was drawn to her energy, captivated by the idea that they were on the verge of something much bigger than just a business venture. Ruja had a way of making people believe in her dreams, of turning them into believers. She didn't just talk about success, she painted a picture of it, a vision that was so compelling it was hard to resist. The way she spoke, the way she carried herself, made her seem like a visionary, a woman who could lead them all to unprecedented heights. Her influence wasn't limited to grand speeches. Ruja had a subtle, almost magnetic ability to inspire those around her to work tirelessly toward her vision. She instilled in her team a sense of purpose, making each person feel like a vital part of a revolution. The stakes were high, but the promise of success was even higher, and that made the hard work seem worth it. Despite the high-stakes environment, Harry remembers her as a pleasant and polite person, someone it was enjoyable to work with. Her ability to maintain a pleasant demeanor in the face of pressure stood out. She had a charm that made her easy to be around, and her leadership style was engaging, drawing people in with a mixture of charisma and a clear sense of direction. Ruja knew how to lead not with fear, but with allure, making everyone feel like they were part of something extraordinary. She wasn't just running a company, she was building an empire, and everyone around her felt that sense of destiny. Ruja Ignatova loved being the center of attention. She thrived in the spotlight and knew how to captivate an audience. She organized extravagant events, from lavish birthday parties to exclusive gatherings, where guests were impeccably dressed, exuding wealth and sophistication. Ruja herself was always adorned in diamonds and luxurious clothing, a living testament to her success. Her style and presence made a statement. "Look at me. I studied at Oxford. I've made it, and I'm successful." Every detail of her appearance, from her jewelry to her confident demeanor, reinforced the image of a woman who had it all: intelligence, wealth, and power. It was all part of her carefully crafted persona, one that drew people in, convincing them that she was a force to be reckoned with in the world of finance. She was always the smartest person in the room wherever she appeared. Her academic background, particularly from prestigious institutions like Oxford, allowed her to present herself as a well-educated and highly capable individual. She often used her impressive credentials to gain the trust and respect of those around her, reinforcing the image of someone who was not just a businesswoman, but a highly skilled expert in her field. She chose to launch her cryptocurrency at a time when the financial revolution was rapidly growing. The world was beginning to embrace digital currencies, and blockchain technology was being hailed as the future of finance. It was the perfect moment to enter the market, as interest in cryptocurrency was skyrocketing, and the promise of fast wealth and innovation attracted countless investors. Ruja Ignatova saw the opportunity to capitalize on this emerging trend, positioning OneCoin as a disruptive force that would transform the financial landscape. Hearing stories of people becoming millionaires overnight, many were drawn into the frenzy, taking out loans to buy cryptocurrency, hoping to make a huge leap and earn substantial profits. The allure of fast wealth was irresistible, especially when it seemed like everyone around them was getting rich. This sense of urgency and excitement fueled the rise of OneCoin, with Ruja Ignatova at the helm, promising her investors that they were part of something groundbreaking. For many, the dream of striking it rich in the world of digital currency overshadowed the risks, and they eagerly followed the wave, investing what they could. The OneCoin system was built on a structure that, at first glance, appeared to be a groundbreaking cryptocurrency revolution. But behind the scenes, it was nothing more than a carefully disguised pyramid scheme. Ruja Ignatova's charm and the promise of huge returns led millions to believe they were investing in a legitimate digital currency. Investors were offered various educational packages with names like Starter or Premium, which supposedly contained training materials on cryptocurrency. The more money you paid, the more tokens you received, and these tokens were said to convert into OneCoins later on. The core of the business wasn't cryptocurrency. There was no real blockchain, no genuine mining process. It was all smoke and mirrors. The real engine driving the system was recruitment. New investors were needed constantly to fund the earlier ones. When someone invested in OneCoin, their money wasn't being used to mine or generate coins, but instead flowed up the chain, rewarding those who had recruited them. The system relied on a constant influx of fresh money to pay out those already in the network, creating an illusion of success. To keep the illusion alive, Ruja Ignatova and her team made sure to create flashy events, sell luxury, and promise riches. They marketed OneCoin as a way to make millions, like a secret path to wealth, only available to those savvy enough to join. Through this elaborate scheme, Ruja Ignatova managed to steal an estimated $4.5 billion from investors worldwide. Although the offices of OneCoin were located in Sofia, Bulgaria, the United Kingdom played a significant role in the operation. Many of the public relations managers, marketing staff, and other key personnel were based in the UK. This was part of the strategy to give the company a more legitimate appearance, drawing on the UK's financial and business reputation. Having a presence in such a prominent country helped to enhance the credibility of the operation, making it seem more trustworthy and professional to potential investors worldwide. The FBI opened an investigation into Ruja Ignatova and OneCoin in 2016, as suspicions about the legitimacy of the cryptocurrency began to grow. The IRS Criminal Investigation Division, CID, collaborated closely with the FBI in investigating Ruja Ignatova and the OneCoin scam. Together, they worked to uncover the vast network of financial crimes, including money laundering, tax evasion, and fraud, that were tied to the operation of OneCoin. The investigator who has been following the OneCoin case since the beginning has described it as the most fascinating case of his 26-year career. He emphasized how the complexity and scale of the scam made it unlike anything he had encountered before. According to detailed investigations conducted by various law enforcement agencies, Ruja Ignatova, widely known and often referred to in the media and among experts as the infamous Cryptoqueen, amassed a vast portfolio of luxurious real estate, properties spread across several countries around the world. Her holdings included opulent villas nestled in exclusive neighborhoods, ultra-modern high-end apartments in some of the most sought-after cities, and an impressive fleet of extraordinarily expensive yachts, all of which symbolized immense wealth and status. These assets were not acquired through legitimate means, but rather were funded by the billions of dollars she deceitfully extracted from unsuspecting investors who had been lured into the fraudulent OneCoin scheme. One particularly revealing report by the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, ICIJ, shed light on some of the specific transactions involved. In 2015, it was uncovered that Ignatova utilized a shell company registered in Dubai, known as Oceana Properties Limited, to discreetly purchase a lavish penthouse apartment valued at approximately $2.7 million. This penthouse was situated on the topmost floor of a towering skyscraper, affording breathtaking panoramic views of Palm Jumeirah, the famous man-made archipelago composed of artificial islands in the Persian Gulf, renowned for its luxury and exclusivity. Further investigations revealed that Ignatova was not alone in using Dubai's property market to shield illicit wealth. Over the span of the previous 9 years, at least 11 of her closest associates and collaborators were also identified as owners of some of the city's most prestigious and exclusive real estate holdings. This collective ownership of prime properties among her inner circle strongly suggested a systematic use of real estate investments as a method to launder money and obscure the origins of their fortune. This significant discovery was part of a broader investigative project known as Dubai Unlocked, which aimed to expose the role of Dubai as a notorious hub and safe haven for criminal investments and individuals sought by law enforcement. This major journalistic endeavor was a collaborative effort between the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project, OCCRP, and Norway's leading financial news outlet, E24. The investigation was underpinned by an unprecedented leak of confidential Dubai land registry records, which had been obtained by the Center for Advanced Defense Studies, C4ADS, a nonprofit organization based in Washington, D.C., specializing in issues of transnational security and the tracking of illicit financial flows. The leaked documents contained detailed records of property purchases and ownership transfers, revealing that among the buyers were notable figures directly connected to the OneCoin scam. This included Carl Sebastian Greenwood, one of the co-founders of OneCoin, who is currently serving a lengthy 20-year prison sentence in the United States for his central role in orchestrating the fraudulent scheme. Also named was Kari Walrus, a Finnish businessman who had publicly positioned himself as OneCoin's European ambassador during various promotional events and conferences, representing the company's interests across Europe. Greenwood declined to respond to questions from the ICIJ partners. Walrus, who has not been charged with any crime, confirmed to Finnish broadcaster YLE that he owns several apartments in Dubai. However, he denied any knowledge of the company's involvement in money laundering activities, as alleged by prosecutors, stating, "I've never had a penny to do with OneCoin itself." Investigators were able to trace $4.5 billion in stolen funds and follow their origins, uncovering the complex web of financial transactions linked to Ruja Ignatova in the OneCoin scam. Investigators discovered that hundreds of millions of dollars had been transferred to accounts belonging to non-existent companies. These shell companies were part of a complex scheme designed to conceal the true origin of the funds, making it difficult for authorities to trace the stolen money. This manipulation of financial systems allowed Ruja Ignatova and her associates to hide their illicit wealth, further complicating the investigation into the OneCoin scam. Ruja Ignatova involved her boyfriend, Gilbert Armenta, in the money laundering operations linked to the OneCoin scam. Armenta, a key accomplice in the OneCoin network, was responsible for laundering a portion of the illicit proceeds from the multi-billion-dollar fraud. Through his involvement, the stolen funds were funneled through bank accounts and fake companies, allowing the couple to conceal the origin of the money. When Ruja Ignatova learned of her boyfriend's arrest in 2017, she knew he might talk. She understood that his testimony could jeopardize the entire operation. As a precaution, either she or her ally Frank Schneider arranged for a person to stay in the apartment above Gilbert Armenta's. This individual was tasked with listening in on his conversations. Gilbert Armenta, having begun cooperating with the authorities, collaborated in secretly recording his conversations with Ruja Ignatova over the course of several weeks, trying to extract information. In the October 2017 conversation, Gilbert inadvertently revealed that he was cooperating with the Americans, though he didn't say it directly, instead using other words that made his involvement clear. After this, Ruja quickly hung up the phone and disappeared. Now she was aware that Armenta had begun working with law enforcement, and in her mind, he could be a potential threat to her plans. She became paranoid because the police in 10 countries were investigating the OneCoin operation. In addition to the charges in Bulgaria, Ignatova, a German citizen, faced criminal charges in the United States, Germany, and India. The information about the investigation quickly reached Ruja's ears through her sources in Bulgaria. Ruja Ignatova knew that the authorities were actively searching for her, due to involving an infamous figure from Luxembourg, Frank Schneider, in her money laundering operations. Schneider, a former intelligence officer, played a significant role in helping to move and conceal the illicit funds generated by the OneCoin scam. His involvement further complicated the investigation, as he utilized his background and connections to assist in hiding the true origin of the money. As part of his role for the Cryptoqueen, Schneider coordinated London-based lawyers and PR advisors who helped extend the reach of her scam. U.S. prosecutors have claimed that Schneider also supplied Ignatova with confidential police information, although he has denied this accusation. However, he did provide the BBC with sensitive police files that were leaked from Europol meetings, which he alleged were obtained by Ignatova. These documents seem to reveal how she managed to stay one step ahead of investigators before her mysterious disappearance. Mr. Schneider was initially arrested by French police in April 2021 while driving with his family near the Luxembourg border. He was held in prison for 7 months before being released and placed under house arrest. From his home in a quiet French village, Frank Schneider gave several interviews to journalists while working with his lawyers to contest his extradition. France's prime minister signed off on his extradition to the U.S. On February 15, 2023, a decision later confirmed by Nancy's Court of Appeal. He would face up to 40 years in prison on charges of fraud and money laundering for his alleged involvement in a $4 billion, $3.2 billion cryptocurrency scam. Apart from Frank, Ruja had connections in Bulgaria, including within the police, intelligence services, and the prosecution. These contacts allowed her to stay informed about the progress of the investigations and anticipate the authorities' moves. 2017 was the year when the mystery surrounding Ruja Ignatova began. Starting from October 25, 2017, no one has ever seen or heard from Ruja Ignatova again. It was as if she had vanished into thin air. The last time she was seen was at Sofia Airport, boarding an early morning flight to Athens with her bodyguard. She disembarked from the plane, sent the bodyguard back to Bulgaria, and stayed in Athens. In Greece, she met with 3 burly men and then got into a Porsche. Since that moment, no one has known where she is. All attempts to email or message her led nowhere, as if she had vanished completely. Since her disappearance, more than 100 people have been arrested on suspicion of fraud related to OneCoin. Some of the companies in the UK involved in the OneCoin case had close ties to some of the most powerful criminals. These companies were involved in money laundering, with many of their operations conducted from Russian and Ukrainian territories. For example, one of the companies is linked to former Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych, who fled to Russia to avoid facing prosecution for his actions in Ukraine. Rumors about Ruja's connections to criminal groups had been circulating for some time, but there was no concrete evidence. However, Frank Schneider confirmed that she was indeed linked to organized crime. He specifically mentioned an incident in Dubai where Ruja was threatened with death and physical harm. One day, a group of people approached her and told her that soon she would receive a proposal that she must accept. Otherwise, the consequences could be very unpleasant for her. According to Schneider, they demanded a large sum of money from her, threatening that if she didn't comply, both she and her family would face serious problems. Even though he recognized those people, Schneider refused to reveal their names because he was also afraid, especially with a family to protect. Journalists believe they have figured out who they are: Gary Murphy, a notorious and scandalous British gangster. What raised suspicion was the fact that Gary Murphy started working for OneCoin, even though he had previously been in prison. One of the charges against him was the extortion of money. Officially, Gary Murphy was a bouncer at OneCoin. Gary was responsible for collecting debts. For example, OneCoin accused a British businessman, Christopher Gamilton, of stealing money from them. After this, he received photos of his movements and threatening messages. They demanded that he return the money they claimed he had stolen. He was terrified because he realized that someone was following him along a route that was far from his home. Another mysterious name associated with OneCoin and Ruja is Taki, who goes by the nickname the Bulgarian King of Cocaine. Christoforos Nikos Amanatidis is a well-known figure in organized crime in Bulgaria. However, no official investigations have ever been made into any accusations against him. Everyone is afraid of him, but no one has been able to uncover any true information about his real identity and life. The FBI is convinced that this notorious and feared drug trafficker was responsible for Ruja's security. The police have long speculated that there was an unspoken agreement between Ruja Ignatova and Taki. She needed protection in a world full of growing threats to her operations, and Taki, in turn, needed her to help clean the vast sums of illicit money he had acquired through his drug trafficking empire. It was a deal of mutual benefit. The authorities, however, could never get enough concrete evidence to prove the full extent of their partnership, and Taki's true role in Ruja's operations remains shrouded in mystery. One of the most prominent journalists investigating Ruja Ignatova and her ties to organized crime was Dimitar Stoyanov. He described this investigation as the most dangerous of my career, emphasizing the power and influence of the individuals involved. According to Stoyanov, Ruja was, in some ways, a product of Taki, the man known as the Bulgarian cocaine king, and widely regarded as the boss of bosses in the country. It is said that Ruja and Taki were closely connected, fueling numerous suspicions about the dynamics of their collaboration. Documents exist that highlight a strong and likely deeply intertwined relationship between the two. One of the most striking examples involves a highly suspicious real estate transaction. Ruja purchased a plot of land from one of Taki's closest associates for an absurdly low price. Shortly afterward, the same land was resold for millions of dollars, raising serious questions about the true nature of their dealings. Nobody knows for sure if Taki was involved in OneCoin from the very beginning. He remains a ghost in this entire story, impossible to see, only to hear about. Taki never speaks to people directly, but operates exclusively through intermediaries. It's impossible to send him a message unless he decides to contact someone first. However, if someone fails to comply with his wishes, they might simply disappear. This could mean losing their job or vanishing forever. Taki is the head of the entire Bulgarian mafia and is an extraordinarily powerful man. The state politicians and the mafia have merged into one in Bulgaria. Experts believe that in Bulgaria, the mafia holds immense influence over the political elite. Taki was the only person who could protect Ruja from all kinds of persecution. 5 years after Ruja disappeared, the FBI turned to the public for help. She was added to the FBI's 10 most wanted list, accused of stealing over $4 billion. The agency offered a $100,000 reward for information leading to her capture, sparking an intense manhunt. Numerous tips and calls poured in, but none led to Ruja. Nobody has the slightest idea where she might be. One of the very last people to have any direct communication with Ruja Ignatova before her sudden and mysterious disappearance was Frank Schneider, a close associate and trusted advisor. During one of their final conversations, Frank cautioned Ruja not to leave Bulgaria, assuring her that she was safe within the country's borders and that fleeing might only make things worse. Despite his warnings, Ruja responded with a sense of urgency and fear, explaining that the police were relentlessly pursuing her, closing in with increasing pressure. She insisted that she had no choice but to escape, as remaining in Bulgaria would likely lead to her arrest or worse. The fact that the FBI abruptly lost all track of her the very moment her plane touched down in Greece has led investigators and experts to conclude that her disappearance was far from spontaneous or accidental. It was the result of a meticulously planned and flawlessly executed escape strategy. In subsequent interviews, Frank Schneider revealed his personal belief that Ruja may no longer be alive, a grim theory that aligns with some of the darker rumors swirling around her vanishing. Yet in the shadowy world surrounding this case, many journalists and insiders have raised suspicions about Schneider himself, speculating that he could have played a more active role, perhaps even orchestrating Ruja's disappearance for his own ends, or under pressure from other powerful figures. Adding another layer of intrigue, one of the notorious figures connected to Ruja's network, known as Taki, had an associate named Kamenov Krasimir Nikolaev, who claimed to possess insider information about what truly happened to Ruja. Nikolaev stated that he had witnessed a private conversation about Taki's business affairs taking place in Ruja's presence. When Nikolaev questioned Taki about why such sensitive matters were being discussed openly in front of her, Taki reportedly coldly replied, "Don't worry, she's as good as dead." This chilling statement proved eerily prophetic as Ruja disappeared, only 3 or 4 days after that very conversation. Rumors continue to circulate about the lengths to which Ruja may have gone to evade capture. Some believe she may have undergone extensive plastic surgery to alter her appearance dramatically, making her almost unrecognizable to authorities. Others speculate that she could be traveling under a false identity, possibly wielding a German passport, as she moves discreetly through regions such as the Middle East or Eastern Europe, areas known for their complex and porous borders. Further darkening the mystery, a secret document surfaced through the investigative work of Bulgarian journalist Dimitar Stoyanov. The document quoted Ruja's brother-in-law, who, while intoxicated, made a startling confession. He claimed that Ruja had been murdered on a yacht in the Ionian Sea, a body of water off the western coast of Greece. According to this secret account, Ruja was killed along the Greek coastline. Her body was dismembered and then callously thrown into the sea, effectively erasing physical evidence of her existence. The purported motive behind this brutal act was that Taki, fearing Ruja knew too much and had become a liability to his operations, ordered her elimination to protect himself and his criminal empire. To this day, as authorities continue to search for the billions stolen through the OneCoin scam, Ruja's former associates have remained comfortably ensconced in her lavish properties located in Bulgaria. Despite widespread speculation and numerous conspiracy theories, no conclusive evidence has emerged to definitively link Taki to Ruja's murder. In a grim reminder of the deadly stakes involved, one of Taki's partners, who allegedly revealed the contents of the overheard conversation about Ruja's fate, was found brutally murdered in his home in Cape Town, South Africa. This killing, along with several other suspicious deaths surrounding key figures in the case, serves as a stark warning and testament to the dangerous network of criminality and silence that continues to surround the Cryptoqueen's disappearance. He, his wife, and the staff working in their home were shot. It was a public warning to be careful. After that murder, two other notorious Bulgarian criminals were killed and one disappeared. None of the murders can be directly linked to Taki. The Bulgarian police claim they have no evidence to capture him. However, the chain of murders continued. Gary Murphy died in a quad bike accident shortly after. Moreover, like his former boss, Ruja Ignatova, Frank Schneider mysteriously vanished before facing justice. French authorities later confirmed that, despite being fitted with an ankle tag, Schneider, 53, had managed to evade electronic surveillance and disappeared, leaving his extradition unresolved. No one has ever found any traces of Ruja. Ignatova continues to be listed on the FBI's most wanted fugitives list. According to an FBI spokesperson, the agency considers her to be alive until there is verified proof of her death. Research conducted by the investigative team at Westdeutsche Rundfunk for the documentary series Die Cryptoqueen offers new insights that challenge previous reports surrounding Ruja Ignatova's disappearance. According to findings from the State Office of Criminal Investigation in Dusseldorf, the man who was believed to have executed the contract killing of Ignatova was actually incarcerated in the Netherlands at the time of her alleged murder. Additionally, a former employee of Ignatova's disclosed that Konstantin Ignatov, her brother, continued to have regular phone conversations with her even after her disappearance, raising further questions about the circumstances surrounding her vanishing. Despite ongoing investigations, authorities are still uncertain of Ignatova's exact location. However, some reports suggest she may be hiding in a heavily guarded area in Cape Town, South Africa, a location known to be home to several wealthy exiled Bulgarians, adding another layer of intrigue to her elusive whereabouts. On August 7, 2024, the High Court of Justice in the United Kingdom issued a global asset freeze order against Ruja Ignatova, known as the Cryptoqueen, and several of her alleged accomplices involved in the OneCoin scheme. More than 400 victims of the OneCoin collapse had come together to urge the court to freeze the assets of Ignatova, Sebastian Greenwood, the co-founder of OneCoin, Christopher Hamilton, and Robert McDonald, who are accused of laundering funds on behalf of OneCoin. Additionally, 4 influencers who had promoted OneCoin to the public were also named in the case. The court's decision also included a freeze on the business entities that Ignatova allegedly used to launder OneCoin's funds and acquire assets, extending the block on these businesses worldwide. In 2019, Konstantin Ignatov, Ruja's brother, pleaded guilty to money laundering and fraud in connection with OneCoin. As a key accomplice in the Ponzi scheme, he faced a maximum sentence of 90 years in prison. However, after cooperating with U.S. investigators and testifying in court against OneCoin lawyer Mark Scott, Konstantin was granted a reduced sentence. He served just 3 years before being released and was allowed to complete his sentence under less severe conditions. In 2019, Scott was convicted of bank fraud and money laundering for his role in facilitating the OneCoin scam. Despite the gravity of the charges and the millions of dollars laundered through his actions, his sentence was far lighter than the 17 years that U.S. prosecutors had recommended. The judge, however, handed down a far more lenient sentence, taking into account Scott's cooperation during the trial and his status as a first-time offender. The decision sparked controversy, with many questioning whether justice had truly been served, especially considering the scale of the financial damage caused by OneCoin. Victims of the scheme expressed frustration that a person deeply involved in such a massive fraud could receive a relatively short prison term. The case highlighted the complexities of prosecuting white-collar criminals, particularly those who cooperate with authorities in exchange for reduced sentences. Still, the sentence did little to mitigate the immense financial harm done to thousands of victims, leaving many to wonder whether Scott's punishment truly matched the crime. Carl Sebastian Greenwood, the co-founder of OneCoin, faced a major turning point in the protracted legal battle against the massive fraudulent cryptocurrency scheme when he was convicted in 2023. This conviction marked a significant milestone in the pursuit of justice for the thousands of victims who had been deceived by the sprawling scam. Greenwood was sentenced to an extensive 20-year prison term, a penalty that reflected not only his pivotal role in orchestrating the elaborate deception, but also the enormous scale of the financial damage caused by the scam. His involvement was central to the operation, as he was one of the key masterminds responsible for coordinating the scheme's global reach and managing the fraudulent activities that ensnared millions of unsuspecting investors. In addition to the lengthy prison sentence, the court ordered Greenwood to forfeit a staggering $300 million, funds he had personally accumulated through his active promotion and facilitation of the OneCoin scam. While this sum represented only a fraction of the total billions stolen from investors worldwide, it was nonetheless a crucial victory in the ongoing efforts to recover at least part of the vast illicit proceeds. The forfeiture was seen as a symbolic and practical step toward restitution for the victims and demonstrated the seriousness with which authorities were treating the case. Importantly, the conviction laid bare the true nature of OneCoin, a cryptocurrency that had falsely branded itself as the Bitcoin killer and promised revolutionary digital finance. In reality, OneCoin was completely worthless, a hollow facade that crumbled under scrutiny following Greenwood's conviction and the subsequent unraveling of the scheme's inner workings. Another significant figure tied to the OneCoin scandal was Irina Dilkinska, a 41-year-old Bulgarian national who played a critical role in the operation. In 2024, Dilkinska was extradited to the United States to face multiple serious charges, including fraud and money laundering, reflecting her alleged deep involvement in facilitating the criminal activities behind OneCoin. Holding the position of head of legal and compliance within the organization, she was ostensibly responsible for ensuring that the company adhered to legal standards. However, investigators accused her of grossly neglecting these responsibilities and instead actively participating in the laundering of millions of dollars obtained illegally. She allegedly managed and coordinated a complex network of shell companies designed to disguise the origin and destination of the illicit funds, enabling the scam to continue unchecked for years. U.S. Attorney Damian Williams underscored the gravity of Dilkinska's alleged misconduct during public statements, emphasizing that her actions had severely undermined the very purpose of her job title. Rather than acting as a safeguard against illegal activity, she had allegedly become an enabler of one of the most extensive financial frauds in recent history, contributing significantly to a criminal enterprise that defrauded thousands of innocent investors across the globe. The extradition of Dilkinska represented a major breakthrough in the international effort to dismantle the OneCoin network and bring those accountable to justice. It highlighted the ongoing commitment of law enforcement agencies to pursue not only the primary architects of the scheme, but also the critical operatives who helped sustain it. Irina Dilkinska's role at OneCoin was integral to the operation of the scam, as she was tasked with facilitating the creation and management of shell companies designed to launder the illicit proceeds from OneCoin and conceal property linked to Ruja Ignatova. Prosecutors revealed that one example of her involvement was a complex scheme to launder around $400 million in OneCoin funds through a series of fraudulent Cayman Islands investment funds, run by Mark Scott, a lawyer convicted in 2019 for bank fraud and money laundering. Dilkinska used a shell company, B&N Consult EEOD, which was designed to look legitimate but had no actual income generation. It served as a key vehicle for washing the illegal funds from OneCoin, according to the charges. The investigation into Dilkinska's actions was supported by both Bulgarian authorities and the U.S. Internal Revenue Service's Criminal Investigation Unit. The charges against her, wire fraud and money laundering, each carry a maximum sentence of 20 years in prison, further emphasizing the severity of her involvement in the massive OneCoin fraud. The story of OneCoin and its criminal machinations is one of deception, greed, and corruption on a global scale. Ruja Ignatova, the Cryptoqueen, became a symbol of how manipulation and promises of easy wealth can ruin lives, involving millions in a scam that caused $4.4 billion in damage. Despite her mysterious disappearance, her name remains on the FBI's most wanted list, and her case continues to fuel theories and speculations. The ongoing evasion of justice, mysterious murders, and the uncertain fate of Ruja Ignatova fuel an atmosphere of uncertainty and suspicion. While governments and law enforcement continue their investigations, OneCoin serves as a cautionary tale for those seeking quick gains in the world of cryptocurrency, a world that can prove as perilous as it is promising. The conclusion to this story remains uncertain, but it offers a profound reflection on the nature of human ambition. In the pursuit of wealth, the lines between vision and deception can blur, and what begins as a dream of success can spiral into a nightmare of ruin. OneCoin is a stark reminder that in a world driven by greed, it's not just fortunes that are lost, but trust, relationships, and the very essence of integrity.